Welcome back to On the Move with Victor Shi. This is Victor Shi. It is Friday, March 24th, and boy, has it been a long week. We have made it to the end. So, first of all, give a huge congratulations to yourself for making it through the end of the week. There has been a lot that has happened this week, and it's really felt like these past few days have been so kind of deluged with news and information. And to me, at least, I don't know if you all feel the same way, but this week felt like there was a lot of news. And so, today we're going to do a brief Ask Me Anything series. But before that, I just want to do a quick roundup of the week because a lot has happened. Of course, we started this week with Donald Trump basically saying that Alvin Bragg will indict him or arrest him on Tuesday, which of course did not happen. Another one of those Trump posts that did not turn out to be true, but nonetheless, it was dangerous. It launched basically a flurry of Republicans also criticizing, DA Alvin Bragg and local investigators. And so for all of these Republicans who are doing this right now, I think for all of us, it's important for us to realize just how big of a threat they pose to the rule of law. These people don't understand our Constitution. These people don't understand democracy, and they are really putting our entire nation at risk because at the heart of law, at the heart of all of this are facts. This is what the rule of law and the legal system is about. And they know that if they attack the legal system, that's the one thing that prevents basically what they're trying to do and what actually keeps us in a democracy. So it's kind of that intermediary force between what makes us a democracy and then what makes us, an autocracy. And so they know this, and that's why I think they're attacking the courts. That's why they're attacking attorneys. That's why they're attacking lawyers and the legal system. And I think all of us should kind of see it for what it is, which is it's a really sustained attack on our judicial system because that's the only place or one of the only places left where there's facts. And that's also why they're attacking scientists and teachers, because these are the industries that actually promote facts and truth and really just real information. And they know that that poses a threat to any type of agenda that they're trying to push. Speaking of Donald Trump, this morning he released this really, just even for Donald Trump, a wild and irresponsible and dangerous Truth Social tweet, which he said, "What kind of person can charge another person, in this case, a former president of the United States, who got more votes than any sitting president in history and leading candidate by far, exclamation point, for the Republican Party nomination with a crime when it is known by all that no crime has been committed and also known that potential death and destruction in such a false charge would be catastrophic for our country. Why and who would do such a thing? Only a degenerate psychopath that truly hates the USA." That was his Truth Social tweet. Other than the fact that he had a sentence that literally went on for multiple lines, he he called for basically the destruction and the potential death if this happened. This is someone who I think a lot of people are using this term aptly. This is a domestic terrorist at work here. You have him openly calling for violence and the potential destruction and death in a false charge. Basically, every single one of those words, if you break it down semantically, is I'm the victim here. You have a local district attorney who is a degenerate psychopath who hates the USA. Know that word is intentional. That word hate. He's literally causing people to kind of just really doubt the legal system, turn their backs on Alvin Bragg, make Alvin Bragg into this evil, just villainous creature who hates America. And no wonder, he's really just ginning up the passions and fears and anger within his own base. And he's calling for the potential death and destruction of this country in the case that he is indicted. And I think for all of us, it's easy to brush aside what Trump says as the latest crazy thing, but even this is quite insane for Donald Trump to say, saying that this district attorney who's doing his job, who's following the facts, who's doing what needs to be done in order for the rule of law to be upheld, is some sort of degenerate psychopath. No, he's not. I mean, Donald Trump is intimidated. I think he's scared. We can't fall for this, and we can't let his supporters believe this too. And I think the sad reality is that you're going to have a bunch of supporters of his basically view anything that the legal system does against Trump, Jack Smith, Merrick Garland, Fani Willis, Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, as basically traitors to our country when, there was once a time when this wasn't normal. There was once a time when we actually had a legal system in which both Democrats and Republicans respected. So this is just some really dangerous stuff. And of course, tomorrow, Trump will be in Waco for a rally. Remember, that is the site of a cult. And, for all of us to remember just the actual death and destruction that happened there, it's it's a stark reminder for all of us nearly 30 years after that Trump is going to go there as a former president who is about to be indicted. He's going to go there, talk to his supporters about just how messed up this investigation is, how Alvin Bragg is a threat to democracy, how he's a psychopath at the site of the Waco massacre nearly 30 years ago. I mean, it's just how could you be more disgusted by what this person is doing? And so I hope indictments are coming. I hope accountability is coming, because the more this man is allowed to tweet, or I guess go on Truth Social, the more this man is allowed to go to rallies and gin up his base, the bigger threat he is to our national security and also to our democracy. So hopefully we can get him held accountable. Yesterday was also the 13th anniversary of the passing of the Affordable Care Act. President Biden gave a great speech at the White House, basically saying that we have to commit ourselves to holding this act in law. But just a reminder that Republicans are trying to destroy key parts of this act. This is an act that has helped millions of people just access basic health care. As you remember, one of the key provisions of the ACA is basically giving those with pre-existing conditions basic health care, basic access to our healthcare. And it's stunning that even had to happen so late in our nation's history. But the fact that Republicans are trying to ban it, I think, or get rid of it, says a lot about just how little they care about healthcare, just how little they care about just basic rights. And it's just another one of those sustained attacks on the rights of those with pre-existing conditions, those who actually need healthcare. There's just no kind of moral argument against this. No one in America, no one in a functioning democracy should have to rely on where they work in order to access basic healthcare. It's stunning to me. I mean, even just for me, going to the dentist and seeing if I have a cavity or if I have a root canal, I mean, there's a possibility that insurance could be too high for someone to afford it because they aren't working for the right, they don't have the right, they aren't connected with the right health company or health insurance provider. It's just the fact that all of these things are so interconnected to your wealth and your status is really sad. And I think hopefully Republicans somehow realize that, but I don't think they will. But Democrats at least do, and they want to protect your healthcare. They want to expand your healthcare, and that's the difference between both parties. So hopefully we will all just take a moment and, first of all, be grateful that the Affordable Care Act exists, and just also tell all of our elected officials that we will not tolerate them trying to overturn our basic health care. Yesterday, there was quite an interesting moment. Speaking of the legal system and Donald Trump, basically, E. Jean Carroll, that judge in the E. Jean Carroll case, has decided to keep jurors anonymous because basically, that judge cited Trump's record of, quote, attacking courts, judges, various law enforcement officials, and other public officials, and even individual jurors in other matters. This is yesterday that happened. The E. Jean Carroll case is about to get running, and that judge literally had to keep those jurors anonymous because of what Donald Trump has been saying and doing. And it's just, again, where we are in this country. This is not normal. This is not where we should be in this country, where former presidents and Republicans are threatening the legal system and those who actually kind of work to keep our democracy functioning. This just isn't normal, and we can't allow this to be our new normal. So that was some interesting news. And one other thing before I answer some of your questions is, yesterday a bunch of Democrats went onto the House floor and they basically said, they basically called out Republicans for what they're trying to do in terms of banning books. As of right now, I know this sounds unbelievable, but it is. They're trying to. They have banned books like The Life of Rosa Parks, the Toni Morrison books, the Song of Solomon, Beloved. They've banned books that are so critical to our understanding of our nation's history, to Black history, which is also American history. They're launching sustained attacks on literature, which is the one thing that actually kind of keeps our democracy functioning too. I mean, you have stories being passed down to generation and generation. These novels exist. And I think Toni Morrison said the most wonderful thing, which is that, I'm glad that they view my works as, serious enough and important enough to be banned. I mean, they are that intimidated and that threatened by someone like Toni Morrison, who isn't even alive, by the way, her literature and her books have such a power that Republicans are trying to actively get rid of them and ban them from the classroom. And it's just sickening. And yesterday, I thought Representative Jamie Raskin said it perfectly when he said Republicans should be reading more books and fewer should be censoring books. It's so true. These Republicans need to know what they're getting themselves into. And just like wokeness, just like every other campaign that Republicans are announcing, young people aren't going to fall for this. We aren't going to fall for this. We can't fall for this. This is something that we can't allow to be a new normal. The moment that you start banning books, the moment you start restricting people's access to democracy and just basic literature, that's when you know our democracy is in real danger from teetering into something that we don't want to get into. And those Republicans who are trying to do it, like Ron DeSantis, actually have a real chance. And so we can't allow this to be our new normal, because if it is, we won't have a democracy. Literature is one of those things that can bind us together, that no one, regardless of where they live, should be able to fear whether or not they can read or can't read a book. It's just insane. And just speaking of Ron DeSantis, one other thing before I answer your questions is a Florida principal yesterday was fired by this Republican official because a middle school history class basically saw a photo of Michelangelo's David statue, and then angry parents said that was quote pornography. You know, it's just really insane. Anyone who goes to that museum in Italy knows that Michelangelo statue, yes, he is nude, but that is not quote pornography, end quote. And it's just, again, what's happening in Florida right now is truly insane. But it's a microcosm of what Republicans are trying to do to our country. We can't think that Ron DeSantis can't become president, because if Donald Trump gets indicted, he is going to become, I think, the Republican nominee. I mean, that's the person who has the best chance of actually becoming the Republican nominee. And we have to take him, what he's doing in Florida, very seriously, what Republicans are doing seriously, because if we don't, I mean, this is what could happen. We're going to have a country where books are banned because Republicans don't agree with them. You're going to have a country where, just basic things are considered too woke. It's just really scary, and especially for young people to live in this world where we can't even learn properly is just insane. So Republicans should be ashamed of themselves and should be just utterly, I mean, it should be a stark indication for all of us to do the work, to put in the work, to vote all of them out in 2024 and start electing responsible people into office. A couple other questions that I got, and feel free if you all have any questions. I will definitely keep a monitor about for them in the chat box. Be sure to ask them in the comment section on YouTube, and I will be sure to answer them in these next couple of minutes if there's time. Just a couple of questions that I got in these past couple of days. Sarah from Cleveland, Ohio asks, what gives you hope for the future? Where should we be putting our national energies and investment? As all of you might know, I've always said this a lot. My peers, those my age, young people, give me a lot of hope for the future. And it's not because I'm young, it's because I've kind of seen my generation and my peers grow up in this world where so much is at stake, where so much is wrong. We grew up in a time, when we had Donald Trump as our president. That was the first president who we really saw, and he was a person who denigrated our rule of law, our democracy. We saw that clearly, and we didn't wait for anyone to make change. We showed up on the streets, we protested climate change, gun violence, women's rights. And then in 2018, we voted more than any other previous younger generation did in American history. 30% of us showed up to vote. In 2020, 50% of us showed up to vote, which is more than any other time. And then in 2022, we prevented a red wave from happening. So it's all of these things that I think really give me hope that young people are the future. Is it where we want to be in terms of overall youth voter turnout? No, it still lags behind older generations. But in terms of younger generations and where they were in history, none of them have had as high as voter turnout as Gen Zers have. Gen Zers, I think, have really been kind of taken kind of the issue in their own hands and showed up in ways that, to me, have been so surprising and so stunning. And I think that's what's been giving me a lot of hope, is young people really understanding that what Republicans are trying to do is just craziness. They see right through it. They are smarter than we think. They're more diverse. They're more educated. This is a generation I think is really, really special. So it's my peers and younger people that give me hope. And to address the second part of your question, Sarah, where should we be putting our national energies and investment? I think we should be putting our national energies and investment in terms of getting out the vote, really making sure that we have those conversations with young people in our lives. If you know a young person, talk to them, make them aware of what's happening. Have those conversations with them. That's what's really going to, I think, motivate a lot of young people to turn out and to really understand that this is kind of what's facing our country. Having those peer-to-peer conversations, having those individual one-on-one conversations go a long, long way. And I think, if you can phone bank, the organization that I'm a part of, Voters of Tomorrow, does a lot of phone banks that you can plug into, volunteer, join a campaign, urge your elected official to invest in young voters, because that's where the Democratic Party is. In 2024, we'll make up the largest voting bloc of any generation in America. So we need to be invested in, we need to be paid attention to. So that's my advice for kind of where we should be putting our investments as we head into 2024. And just in that same vein, we have to be paying attention to Wisconsin. Wisconsin is happening in just a couple of weeks, less than 2 weeks, actually. Their election is coming up very, very quickly. We have to be paying attention to that race, because that could literally determine the fate of our democracy. And Wisconsin is one of those states where a lot is happening there, and Republicans are trying to hijack the Supreme Court, but we cannot allow it to happen. Democrats have to turn out for these local legal, court elections. That's what's really going to make a difference in our democracy, those down ballot races. So I would say invest in down ballot races, invest in the youth vote. That's, I think, our most important job ahead of 2024, and making sure that we kick out those Republicans in 2024. Let's see. Maybe one other question. I think Rochelle from Portland, Oregon asked a great question. She asks, there are so many issues facing the country. What do you think are the winning positions and messaging our politicians should be focusing on? Great, great question. And there really is no sweeping, perfect response to this. I think it depends on where you are, but I think overall it has to do with that Republicans literally want to make your lives miserable. Name anything. Healthcare, climate change, gun violence, safety, crime, all of these things. Republicans aren't economy, right? All of these things are things that Republicans aren't trying to, actually pass real legislation on. They're instead holding hearings on Hunter Biden. They're using your taxpayer money to do that. I think to frame it as Republicans can't be trusted in office, and that Republicans are literally trying to make your lives worse and worse off, I think is a really important position for all of us to take. I think, and then really kind of offering that contrast is what Democrats are doing. What are Democrats doing to make lives better? You can cite things like the Inflation Reduction Act, things like, the Infrastructure Act, President Biden's passing of the Marriage Equality Act. All of those things are key and tangible ways that Democrats are making our lives better. And the contrast couldn't be starker. It's at the end of the day, offering that choice and making that choice as crystal clear as possible between both parties. I think right now it's, we heard from Republicans what they plan to do if they took control of office in 2022. This is what they're trying to do. Do you trust them to do the same in 2024, or do you trust them to do anything different? I think they're going to be the same if they win office in 2024, if not worse. We can't allow them to win in 2024, because this is what's going to happen. We already saw what happened when we gave them power in 2022. We can't allow them to keep holding power, because this is the inevitable consequence of what's happening right now. And it's about all of us doing the work to make sure that they don't. So I think that messaging of making sure, one, that Republicans are trying to make your lives worse off, and second, that can you trust Republicans now if this is how they're governing? You can't trust them, because this is what they're trying to do. So that's, I think, going to be the key message going forward, at least for me. And in terms of young people, the war that they're waging on all of our rights, our liberties, our lives is really clear. And so making them understand that, but then offering a contrast and a reason for why they should vote for Democrats, I think that's going to be the winning message heading into 2024. Obviously, that's subject to change, and I think it's specific to every local election. They say politics is local, making sure that we can kind of adjust that depending on where we're from. So I think that's the message that I'm going to be looking forward to as we head into 2024, and hopefully Democrats can adopt as we approach that presidential and other elections. Just a couple of other things before I let you all go. We'll be back next week every day at 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time, right here on youtube.com/Politicon. Just a quick programming note. Currently, I am on spring break. I will be here next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday with some great guests who you do not want to miss. So be sure to tune in next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for On the Move with myself. And then next Thursday and Friday, we will have some special guest hosts. I'll be in New York, but I'll have some special guest hosts joining me. First on Thursday is going to be Rachel Vindman, who, as we all know, she's been on this show before, is a great voice on Twitter and other social media platforms. She will be guest hosting on Thursday. She'll be keeping the chair warm. She'll have a great guest. And then on Friday, Jojo from Jers will be guest hosting with another great guest. So you do not want to miss that. I'll be here again Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, keeping the chair warm. But on Thursday and Friday, we will have some special guest hosts you do not want to miss. And in the following week, I'll be right back. School's going to start again. So I'll only be gone for 2 days, but I'm really excited for Rachel and Jojo to help me guest host next week. You do not want to miss that. So thank you everyone for watching this week. We've had an exciting week of On the Move this week. So thank you everyone for watching, for listening, and be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. We'll be here every day, again at 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time, right here on youtube.com/Politicon. Don't miss it. And again, thank you all for your voice, for your fight, for continuing staying engaged in our democracy. This is what's going to keep it alive. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your weekend.